But in particular, I'm just doubly humbled that she's with us today and giving us this time, because she is currently dropping her daughter off at college, which is heart rendering enough for a mama. But she's sitting in a hotel in Washington, D.C. right now. So, there's a couple things going on there right now. So I'm on pins and needles for her, and I can't wait to hear how it's going to play out over the next couple of days. So right now I want to welcome her. I just want to remind you of our schedule. From 9 to 10, we're going to talk to her about fundraising. We're going to take an hour break, 10 to 11, and then you can come right back using the same link, and we'll talk about volunteer recruitment. And for the time being, if you could please stay on mute, and DiAnna is going to go through some slides, and she'd like to go through all of those and give you all of that information. Keep typing questions into the chat box. I'll be watching those, and then afterward we'll address those questions, and we'll probably go mics on, and we'll just have a big free-for-all. So, but just know that you're not being ignored as you kind of think through things. Also, I know we might have a couple of volunteers in the group who help with fundraising, campaigning, and with volunteer recruitment. So I want to welcome them, and just remind you that Michigan CASA is a statewide organization, a nonprofit organization that kind of knits all of the local groups together and support. I provide training. Patty provides like everything else. But we try to make sure that our CASA volunteers throughout the entire state are the best prepared and best supported volunteers in the country, so that our kids in need get the very best care they can. So with that, I am going to hand it over to DiAnna, and I'll let you get started. And would you like me to put the slides on now, or just give me the high sign when you're ready?
Yeah, you can go ahead and put, I guess, the first slide up is fine.
Will do.
Thank you so much, Jane.
You're welcome.
I appreciate this opportunity, and I first want to start by just extending my gratitude to each of you. I learned of CASA probably, I'm going to say, about 15 years ago, because I just so happened to work with a number of attorneys and judges as a political fundraiser. But the work you're doing in the community and just here in the state, certainly at large, is not, I don't even want to use the word amazing, but it's tireless, and it's appreciated. I have found myself, even over the years, explaining CASA to friends and different people in my network, and they were just, wow, I didn't know that such an organization existed. So I am, again, grateful to be here, happy to lend a hand and support, and just looking forward to just sharing whatever resources I have to help you reach more people and touch the lives of more children. So thank you very much for the opportunity. So as Jane had shared, I've spent 12 years as a political fundraiser, but because I have two girls, a freshman and sophomore in college, I knew about 5 years ago I needed to make a transition into, we'll just say, a different fundraising space. I love fundraising. I'm very passionate about it. And I knew that on the political end, the work days of the 24/7 statewide campaigns, it was a lot. And I really wanted to spend time getting my girls through high school and into college. And that space definitely wasn't affording me the time I needed. So I very happy that I found a home at the Detroit Area Agency on Aging. We serve older adults, so the exact opposite to what you're doing. But I don't I no longer do political campaigns. Certainly, I have a lot of friends in the political space and connections. I might lend some advice from time to time. Um, but there's just a quick descriptor on so political fundraising is extremely fast, hard hitting, and gritty. And the nonprofit space is definitely, we'll just say the exact opposite. So it tends to be a little slower, but the same techniques apply when reaching out to donors. When I started my company, I tried to find a definition for fundraising when I wrote my business plan. And the best descriptor that for me that worked for fundraising, the best definition that I personally connected with is the art of nurturing relationships. So you see that here on this first slide. I use that through and through. And fundraising is not about just raising money. It is truly an art. It is a lifestyle, and it hinges on our relationships. And I always sort of demonstrate this with my hands. You always want to start at your core. So yourself, are you giving? I'm a donor to CASA. I have donated. I've donated my financially, and I think my first real giving experience was with Patty through Wayne County Circuit Court. I was asked to meet with her and help. I think when she first started, it had to be shortly after she started to really map out a finance plan. And that relationship has grown to how do we better connect with Wayne County donors. So you always want to start at your core and then sort of spiral out. So yourself, friends, family, your network, and then reaching out to the base. That base may be past donors, current donors, but think of it in that regard. So, Jane, we'll go to the next slide.
Ready.
So I had an opportunity with my agency. I had to really push because I was new, and we had a huge board meeting and a training exercise, and I was too new to be fully engaged. I begged, I report to the CEO, but I did beg him. I was like, well, I'm going to be in the room. I'll be there. And I said, well, can I have just like 5 minutes? He was like, well, I mean, you're brand new. You really need to do more listening and learning. I said, yes, absolutely, I will. I said, but all the other directors are presenting. And he says, yes, I know that. I said, can I just have one slide? And he said, sure. So actually, it took him like a week to decide if I could have one slide. And he was like, one slide? I said, yes, all I need is one slide. So this was the slide that I showed to our board of, I think we have like 25 board members. And so I got up and I said, so the percentage of people that do not give because they're never asked is 85%. And I talked for just a couple moments about why it was important to make the ask. And to my surprise, our board, 25 people, they said in the past that they've never been directly asked for money. They've received emails and invitations, but they never had a development director that came to them face to face and said, I need your support. Can we start at $500? And so a few people wrote checks that day. Of course, my boss was cheering. And I clearly communicated to everyone how passionate I was about fundraising and why it was important for them to give, um, because of our mission, the work that we're doing in the community. But they they really they actually felt more valued. Um, One very short story. I learned this early on in my career. I worked for a very, very prominent city council member in Detroit. And this individual had a family name, and a legacy of years. And I'll share the name. The name is Reverend Nicholas Hood. And so, his dad was one of the first African American on city council. He was on city council. His wife is a judge. So very, I mean, just very popular. So popular that when he ran for mayor, and I was his finance director, he was not comfortable asking people for support. I should say for donations. And so I was so green that I was a little uncomfortable pushing him to make the ask himself. But I wasn't afraid to make the ask. So long story short, we had a huge fancy Christmas party at a very yeah, wealthy individual, a millionaire, their private home and estate on the fancy golf course. And this is in Detroit at the Detroit Golf Club. And so I had the assignment of going ahead early and sort of getting things ready. And then he would be arriving, maybe a half hour, almost an hour after me. But so when I arrived, I, went in and talked to everyone and, oh, hi, happy holidays, happy holidays. Oh my gosh, Reverend Hood is on his way. He's coming. You can't wait to see everyone. And the first two gentlemen that I spoke to, one was an attorney, one was a doctor, and they said, so what's he doing? I said, oh yeah, he's very excited. He's out here looking to be the next mayor. And they said, wow, that's very interesting. He hasn't even called me. And I said, oh, well, he's coming. You're going to get a chance to talk to him. Then the second person said, well, not only has he not called, don't you need money to run for office? Is my money no good? And I was really, I was almost embarrassed because they were loud. It was a packed room. Other people started chiming in. Yeah, I haven't heard from Nick. I haven't heard from him. And that really took me to what I know, and I know more and more, and that is donors. They want to be acknowledged. They want to be touched, and people do want to be asked. They want to be seen. And so it's one thing to, you know, again, send the email, send the invitation. The phone call obviously is the very best. I have a practice of Wednesdays of just making outreach calls. Someone could have written a $10 check, and I just randomly pick people to reach out and just call and say thank you. So, um, but touching people is huge, but making the ask comes first. So next slide. So with fundraising, and I'm watching the time, obviously we have to set a goal. We have to be very clear about where we want to end up. And so beginning with the end in mind is key. you have to have a written plan. And then you have to work the plan. I do make it a practice of writing plans and actually just sort of posting it up so that it's visual, either on my desk or I'll print it and fold it up and put it in my journal. But having it visually there, or I will log it on my phone or screenshot it, save it in my pictures, but just so that I can quickly reference it. Um, you have to, um, it's important. So I know each of you have different goals, different dollar amounts, but it's important to write down the plan. So we'll go next. So oftentimes, not oftentimes, every time I've had a client in the past, they think I'm coming with the money, I'm coming with the pot of gold. And I got a call on my way to DC from someone she knows. I said, Rose, you know how happy I am in my position. She was like, I know, but I have someone, he really needs some money. I said, I know everybody needs money, Rose. I said, but again, I don't bring the money. I bring the process. I bring direction, advice, and strategy. And it's so important that um, not only do you layer your outreach, but you're really transparent. So even stepping into an organization um, that has 100, our organization has 130 employees, I was extremely transparent about, hello, I'm the fundraiser. Here's my plan. What do you think about it? How can we work together? Are there any things that you would add, or can you see yourself in this space? So when I say layering the outreach, making certain that all of your communication outlets um, give allow people an opportunity to give. So there's a donate button on the website. There's a donate um, button on either Facebook. In your mailers, maybe you always include a donation envelope. Email marketing, all the email communication that goes out has an opportunity to give um, through a donation link. So always layering your outreach, even on your LinkedIn page. If you're not on LinkedIn, I would highly recommend that. But you can let people know that you're part of an organization that needs the community financially and through volunteerism, and here's how they can give. That's really, really important. So thanks. We're almost done here with the slides.
Great.
This is an easy one. I always keep it in most of my presentations. It's just a gentle reminder to be smart about your goals and be realistic. I need this myself. Oftentimes, over my course of years in fundraising, I can't tell you how many people came to me and said, I need $1 million. Okay. I mean, that doesn't even add up when I'm talking to someone who's A, never fundraised before, B, doesn't, their nonprofit started last week. Um, and so even in my capacity, I know my goal is my my new goal after 1 year is $1 million. And so uh, I was able to meet a $500,000 goal last year that was my personal goal. The agency goal was like 250. So we did 500,000 because of COVID and just really revving up. I was primed to set the groundwork that first 9 months and then be able to capitalize on the opportunities that came with COVID and asking past donors to give and then connecting with more new donors. Um, but I mean, your goals have to be realistic. I had to explain to my CEO, I cannot personally raise $1 million on my own. You know, it takes a network, it takes staff, and additional resources. And so I really had to push back on that. He's like, I want $1 million. Well, that's great. I need staff. I need, additional resources. So um, I wrote a plan that said, here's how we can get to it. Now you have a role to play in that. Okay. So next slide. So again, putting in the work. So CASA has an amazing product, and I'll just say packaging. I had an opportunity. I did, full disclosure, I did work as a paid consultant this past fall on the, oh goodness, the child campaign. Now I'm forgetting the name. What is the name of the campaign?
Oh,
I can look it up real quick on my Facebook account.
The Change a Child Story campaign?
Yes, Change a Child's Story campaign. And just the materials that are allotted to you through the national network are, I found them to be quite amazing. They're very compelling, and people seem to connect with them, electronically, email, and otherwise. So again, putting in the work. So making certain that you're laying your efforts. We'll go to the next.
did I skip one?
Oh, that might be an error. Okay, that's an error.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like something that was going to move through and it
I
just wasn't
know.
working.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I actually I slipped this in from an older presentation. It's just really important to make certain that we're really clear on fundraising versus development. And it's easy to have it used to be easy to have an in-person gathering. Now, things are tough. And so you do have to use, really maximize your relationships and and quite a bit of technology to stay connected, and to keep your just your mission and your cause in front of your past donors, and then hopefully your soon to be donors. Um, most donors are giving to you because they trust what you're doing. But I've had a saying for the 12, well, more than 12 years that I've fundraised, and that is people give to people. They don't give to things, but people give to people. People tend to give the people that they know, and helping make that connection, even through social media, is helpful. People need to see the impact. People, again, the personal connection to just your cause is key. Being able to find that in a potential donor, and maybe you're just catching their attention through one of these different mediums, the email marketing, social media, Eventbrite. But being able to make certain that you're always current and how you're touching people. So, and letting them know how great you are. People want to be a part of something great, and CASA is definitely a good example of being a part of something great. So we're almost at the end here. Sometimes you probably want to put this at the very beginning. I am really ferocious about building databases. There's a lot of public lists out here. One quick example, I had to engage more Livingston County contacts during the campaign. And so I just Googled Livingston Bar Association. I'm a member of a number of different bar associations. I'm not an attorney, but I do that because I know that attorneys give. And the Livingston Bar Association, their contacts are right on their website. So I just took them off, put them in a folder in the database, and I've been emailing them ever since. At least I sent them to Patty, but it was just, there's a lot of great resources out there that are public. One of the most, and I can talk to Patty about this, or maybe Jane, you can make a note. One of the most effective resources out there for helping to build a database is the Cranes list, because we know it's statewide. And so if you're a member to Cranes, you can go online and you can actually log into your account and you can download that database in Excel, PDF, preferably Excel, so you can upload it and get it out. So that is the most used resource that I have for a database. LinkedIn.
Can you, for just a second, I'm sorry to interrupt, remind some of us of what the Cranes list is, because I don't know that I would know that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Cranes is the premier business publication.
Okay.
That's what they call themselves for Michigan.
Okay.
For certainly for Southeastern Michigan, for this region, but they report on really just the state business entities. And so, for example, probably need to get Patty into Cranes to talk about the work that she's doing, the work that the organization is doing as a whole. But it's Cranes, CRAINS.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the list are going to be the top 100 attorneys in Michigan, the top 100 foundations. That's key, people who give. The top 100 private family foundations, the top 100 hospitals and schools and colleges. So all of these lists are extremely helpful. And it to me, I mean, I used it most recently for a study, a report that was published through our agency. I needed to connect with more doctors, hospital presidents, and, for example, university presidents. So I went to that list so that I could garner those contacts and then send them a copy of our published report. So okay, we'll go to the next one here. So in closing, I want to open it up certainly for questions, and we'll share my contact. I know Jane will share my contact through the chat, but I want to, I guess, use the opportunity for us to collaborate what's working for you, and I guess what challenges are you facing that you just want to put out there to the table now for us to discuss?
Great. And, I'm comfortable if you want to go off mic, but if you want to put it into the chat room, you certainly can.
Yes.
However, That works. And while you're kind of thinking about that, I did have a quick question just to get everybody's juices flowing. And I think I know the answer to this question, but sometimes we're faced with how many contacts can you have too many, for instance? How many times do you remind people about who you are and what your mission is and that you need the funds? And can there be too much contact where you become annoying?
I understand that question. I do limit the email blast. I average once a month as far as a general blast, and it doesn't just speak to give. It speaks to, here's what's happening, here's what's going to happen. And the ask is more of a soft ask where, certainly end of the year giving, click here, donate. Usually there's a tagline to asking for the support at some point during that email. But giving an opportunity for people to see what, not only the impact, but just sharing our stories. I know most of us know storytelling is huge now. And so using that communication once a month to tell the story is important, because one story may connect with, 5% of your donors. Another story may connect with 50% of your donors. But once a month, I think is plenty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. All right. Well, I'll leave this open now to the people who do raise money. I don't have to raise money per se. So what questions are out there? Please use here is DiAnna. Let's get as much out of her as we can.
So what's working well for everyone?
Good question.
What are some of, I guess, the average goals? How much do you have to raise annually?
Question.
I'm happy to answer that if you
Go ahead, Angie.
want someone to start the conversation. We are pretty even on our fundraising as far as what we get from individual donations and state funding and foundations and such, grant funding. So my own personal, goal is always around $100,000 per year for our 3 events plus, monthly giving and all of, that person to person kind of contact kind of giving. Last year, because we could not have our in-person events, we wound up just doing one online peer-to-peer fundraiser. I used an outside product through Network for Good to facilitate that. We went and, I probably asked 120 people to be fundraisers for us and to go out to their networks. Maybe 35, 36 people said yes, only 29 or so actually did it. But we wound up through initial asks of larger donors and corporate donations. We went to them first to try to get some like matching money. So I'd throw in, we'd raise 5,000. I'd throw in 5,000 from from one of our corporate donors, that kind of thing. And we wound up raising about $42,000 just on that. So that was nice. It made up for at least one of our canceled fundraisers.
That's great. Congrats.
Yeah. So that really worked out well for us. We have a pretty large network here in Kent County. And people are used to us asking them to ask their friends because we do one of those Benavon method fundraising luncheons every year.
Okay.
So that was like the first pool of people we went to. We went to our volunteers, we went to our board members, we went to, people who've been donating to us for a long time saying, hey, you want to take the next step and help us raise more money? So that was in this time of not being able to do things our normal way, that worked out pretty well for us last year. So.
Okay, great. That's a good example.
Here's a question from Betsy Rothrock in Monroe County. Is there a time to remove a name from your donor list? When I became program director, I inherited a donor list which included friends, family, and business contacts of the previous directors. I've kept them on the contact list, but I never hear from them.
More than likely, I would file them away. I never remove a name, not unless they've asked to be removed. I would file them away in a particular folder that said, past directors, contacts. And if we'll just say, for example, if you knew that former staff person grew up in a particular area of town, let's say, I don't know, they went to a particular high school and you're doing an event at that high school, or you're doing something that is directly connected personally to what they did, or where they're from, or something that they were really strongly a part of, then I would pull them back in for that. So I do maintain a database of 10,000 contacts. I have way more contacts, but I maintain a workable database of 10,000 contacts. I don't always use them. So for example, I do still, don't look, between us, I still do a monthly email newsletter for Third Circuit Court. And I don't blast the whole database of 10,000 contacts. It's very curated. There are community block club leaders on there. There are trial attorneys. There are business vendors connected with Wayne County. There are, trying to think of, I even have like church leaders. I have labor that receive those newsletters. And I do watch for the trends to see, who's really opening it. Obviously people do opt out. Some people do occasionally, but for the most part, that group, those folders I just referenced, those groups have enjoyed the newsletter for years. I've been doing this newsletter for, oh my gosh, now I think 9 years. Occasionally I do layer in different contacts. I have pushed the court to build their own database. Technically, they rent mine. And so they have, but I mean, they have like 500 contacts, versus my 10,000. So they just didn't, they didn't really have time to do the work. They needed to, just jump right in and have a workable database ready to go. So, you really just need to give it some thought. As to how it is important to categorize people. Just collecting emails and contacts for the sake of collecting emails and contacts. I'll tell you from my own experience, I've done that even politically. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You may get 1 or 2 good hits, but generally speaking, it doesn't work to just blast people because they're like, who is this? What's happening? How'd you get my email? Take me off.
So you have to, I think your keyword there that I heard was curate.
Yeah.
And tailor your message to your group, which means you need to know your group, which is at the heart of Betsy's question. There's been an add-on to that question from Erica. and she is on. And so I'm going to read it, but Erica, if you want to do any qualifying on that same question, what happens when you have a couple of donors? They also were previous board members that would give big, $1,000 to $3,000. I've noticed on the last 2 appeals that they are $250 or less. Some of my board want to know why.
Mm. And they're
So-
still board members, or they're no longer board members?
They're no longer board members. I mean, they've always been huge supporters. I mean, this might not be the right way to say it, but I mean, I feel like they did so much, and they did help make our auction so successful that, I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's okay that now they're like, I mean, at least they're giving something.
Mm-hmm.
Necessarily see it as a big deal, but some of my board members want me to be the one
Oh,
to reach out to them, and I don't want to do that because a couple of them, I've actually have built, friendships with, and like I said, I mean, they still support when they can. So I don't know how to respond to that or what, like, tell my current board, like, no, I don't feel comfortable doing, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what to do.
yeah. I think you're doing the best you can, and doing the best you can includes presenting an opportunity for them to give, maintaining that relationship. And I mean, it could be something has changed in their lifestyle. I mean, sometimes, I mean, maybe they're recently retired, and so they said, let me adjust the numbers so that I can retire and keep a roof over my head. So there's that. It's
Tricky.
I don't think that I think that we always have to show and express our gratitude for the donation, and even sharing that with the board members, how grateful you are for them still being a part of the support and donors. I don't know that I would push that. That's
Right. Okay. And then I guess with, with that, I mean, I think, I don't know, I would feel a little bit different. We have some bigger companies, and, like we have the energy cooperative that's located right in Cass with us. We got some bigger, organizations, that have always been sponsorships to things. And I guess if I notice there that, for years and years, you're kind of, I hate to always use that word, not expecting, but you're hoping that same donation is going to occur. I feel like I might, reach out to them and just, say, hey, thank you so much for your past support, those kind of things. Cause I think I'm trying to get them now, especially with what we're going through, they're like, well, we're going to get this, and we can plan on this, and we can plan on that. And, we were just doing our budget, obviously, at the end of the year. And I'm kind of saying, no, I mean, I don't feel like we can say that, because we don't know what other organizations are going through and what they are. So, I would rather be like bare bones and then go, oh, at the end of the year, wow, look what we did end up making, and we're still open and we're still functioning, instead of banking on all these big sponsorships and things to come in. Because I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's a hard time, and I don't know how to say, hey, I sorry that we're in a pandemic, but they wanted $5,000 and, we got 1,000, kind of a thing.
right.
So
I I have faced, I guess, something similar with our, we call them providers. So they're basically vendors, providers that deliver direct care to seniors. Um, are those agencies, they're smaller agencies, are they struggling? Yes, they are. Um, and they're struggling for a lot of different reasons due to COVID. And so we did not, I did not pound them or uh, call them up and make, we'll just say demands or direct. I did not make direct ask. What I did do over the course of the past 10 months is we did a quick pivot. I have been managing PPEs. So I actually checked in with them and then make certain they have what they needed. How can we help you? They were like, what? I said, oh yeah. So I actually, it became a family affair. I said, we got a bunch of PPE supplies from the state. And so we want to share those with you. They're like, wow. And so I personally made deliveries to them. My coworkers were like, why are you doing that? I was like, it's the art of nurturing relationships. My kids, I had my girls dropping off supplies. So my check-in with them was, how can we help you? I really, really stressed in my conversations how appreciative we have been of their support over the years. All the fundraisers were canceled last year. And I'm even questioning, I do have 2 fundraisers on the table, but I'm I'm about 80% certain I'm actually going to flip those and turn it into a donor appreciation event. So I do think that while you may not have PPEs to give away, um, I do think that it's good to check in and say, is there anything that we can do for you? We
Mhm.
appreciate all your support over the years. We know how tough it is out here. I mean, God knows it is tough. Um, is there anything we can do for you? And then if you could think of if there is some big brand that's doing well, like, a Target, a Myers, uh, Rocket Mortgage, um, that's doing well, could they help sponsor a donor appreciation for you? Or could you just do a very low end donor appreciation, just a drive by and a wave? Or uh, I'm myself have tried to think of really low budget donor appreciation events. But if there's something that you have that you can give away to a donor, I mean, it may just be a bottle of hand sanitizer. I don't know. I spoke to Target last week on Friday, and they couldn't give me money, but they're giving a couple of volunteers that are coming out to help me move a bunch of boxes. And then they said, oh, by the way, we can bring a bunch of hand sanitizer. We
Wow.
have thousands of them. I said, oh, okay, sure, I'll take them.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
Well,
could lead with, how can I help? Is there anything we could do that? I think they might be a little surprised if you call them and ask, how can we help?
mhm.
Maybe you're just connecting them to a resource. So
Those are great ideas. I love that. And I'm not trying to rush things, but I
sure.
am aware of the time. We've
Yes,
got
yes.
a big question here from Becky Carson, and it will probably wrap us up at 10. But Becky just finished, or you're in the middle of a big campaign right now and I loved how and I'll let you describe it, of course, but I love the partnerships that you had with the churches, the local churches. And I thought that was brilliant. But her question, and I'll let you get started and she can clarify. Do you have suggestions for programs that may lose the VOCA federal funding source, which is at risk for CASA programs all across Michigan? For our program, it will be a loss of nearly half our budget. We have some plans in place and a campaign to engage new folks and build support. However, we do not have a large base to draw from currently. The amount to cover is much larger than what we have ever been able to raise thus far, and consequently will take a much different approach. That is aside from the challenges of COVID, of course. Yeah, let's layer it on. I am really wanting to secure ongoing support so that it's not such a challenge to sustain and to support growth. Great issues, Becky. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your question, Becky. So what county are you in again?
We're Berry, Eaton, and Ingham.
Sorry,
So Berry County, Eaton County, and Ingham County.
oh, okay. Eaton. Just making a note. Do you have a relationship? It sounds echoey.
Oh, you're
No.
fine.
Oh, okay. Do you have a relationship with your, like the county executive or their office?
I mean, like for the county itself?
Yes.
I do not. Some of our board members have some connections with some of the commissioners. Is that what you mean for?
So certainly the commissioners, but even the county executive themselves, you could start with a commissioner or two. I would go to the county commissioners because I mean you should be able to go to your own county commissioner, and I would directly ask for support, and for them to my ask would be for them to be really a watchdog for any type of funding that would come through. For example, I know in Wayne County, I was on a call, a total random call. It was a fun call for seniors to call in and socialize. And the senior director said, "Oh yeah, well, yeah, we've got some extra CARES Act money." And I said, "Oh, well, Lisa, well, what's that about?" And she said, "Oh, DiAnna, you guys are too big. You don't need that." I said, "Really? Where do I go to find that?" And so I did. Not only so it was published as they were going to give out these little small, or I should say small, they're not small, $20,000 grants. I said, "Okay." I applied. And then I made a phone call to, because I recognized the name of the lady who was over the program. They maxed us out. They said, "We're going to give you the money towards the end." And they said they gave us $49,999 because that was the max they could give. So there's funding. There are these sources out there that I'll just say the average person like ourselves really aren't privy to. So you do need, I would ask my county commissioner, and I don't know if you have a council person that you can ask, but I would ask them, because most of this special funding that just is sort of out there it comes across their desk. So I would definitely ask them to be on the lookout. I know Patty knows of it. Even the governor's office, they push certain funding into these special task force. And I applied for some, I didn't get it. But I think that's more of a statewide application. But locally, I would start there. Are you tapped in with the largest, we'll just say one of the largest corporate entities in your county?
We are. They are one of our larger is Jackson National, which is a grantor as well.
Okay.
So a lot of, I mean, they have some giving through their employee giving kind of initiatives, but they also and match their employees giving, but they also have a grant process. So I think in Ingham County, a lot of the granting processes have changed a lot to be more, rather than program supporting, which and I'm aware some of those funders may be interested in funding in a crisis moment, but they're also looking for what is your plan to sustain this. So if you're losing, you know, 100 grand, how are you going to make up that 100 grand after, you know, like our 20, 30, maybe, you know, $40,000 grant is expended? How are you going to sustain your need for an extra 100 grand?
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's kind of why we're trying to have I guess, a large change in how we do things and looking at a campaign. But I was just interested in any kind of thoughts you might have, because it's definitely a larger amount than what we've, you know, looked at trying to support. And I know we don't want to be running in fundraising circles constantly, because I think that's also